Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.
Hello and welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. Will 2020 be a year of peace accords in Assam, or at least a year where there will be long strides towards complete peace in the state? Well, after the comprehensive peace agreement with the NDFB factions, the attention now is on the Paresh Barua-led faction of the United Liberation Front of Assam, or ULFA Independent. On Tuesday, within hours of top Assam Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma making an appeal to Paresh Barua, said that, he asked the Paresh Barua to come for peace negotiations. The ULFA leader said his organization will have absolutely no problem in entering into peace talks with New Delhi, provided the government was ready to discuss the group's core issue of sovereignty. In an interview to Jarir Hussain, chief managing editor of our group channel News Live, the elusive ULFA leader Paresh Barua said they do not even need any safe passage to come for talks, which can be held in Guwahati. For the first time, Paresh Barua said, I am more than 100% sure we will come for peace talks and I will be one of the signatories to such an accord if our core issue of sovereignty is discussed. The elusive ULFA leader said the outfit is always positive about holding negotiations with the government. Now, before we discuss any further, let's listen into how things unfolded in the past 48 hours. First, it was Himanta Biswa Sharma making a formal appeal to the ULFA Independent on behalf of the government for the first time to come and join the peace process. Let's listen into what Himanta Biswa Sharma had said.
আমি প্ৰথমবাৰৰ বাবে ৰাজহুৱাভাৱে আবেদন কৰিছো মই ভাবো যে যদি পৰেশ বৰুৱা ডাঙৰীয়াই ইচ্ছা কৰে বা সংযুক্ত মুক্তিবাহিনী অসমে যদি বিচাৰে তেতিয়ালে ভাৰত চৰকাৰ আলোচনাৰ বাবে সাজু আছে এই কথাষাৰ কালি অমিত শাহ ডাঙৰীয়াই আমাৰ আগত উল্লেখ কৰিছে
All right, that was Himanta Biswa Sharma. For the first time, formally, any top leader of the Assam government made a formal appeal to the ULFA, even if through the media, appealing to the ULFA independent leader Paresh Barua and his organization to come and join the peace process and saying that the government of India is also of the same view to hold talks with the ULFA independent. Now, hours after the appeal, ULFA independent leader Paresh Barua made his comments on the issue of talks. Let's listen in to what Paresh Barua had told during the interview.
আমি আগতেও কৈছো আমি যদি কথা পাতে আমাৰ কবলগীয়া একো নাই আমি ডেলিগেশন পঠাম আমি উপযুক্ত ডেলিগেশন পঠাম ইয়াত কিন্তু ইয়াৰ আগতে যে কিবা সিজফায়াৰ কৰিবলৈ সিজফায়াৰ কথা প্ৰশ্ন আহিব না শান্তি চুক্তি কথা নহয় এখন এইখনৰ সংঘাত সমাধান কৰা আলোচনা আমাৰ যিটো ৰাজনৈতিক সংঘাত আছে অসম আৰু ভাৰতৰ মাজত সংঘাত আছে এই সংঘাতটো দূৰ কৰিবৰ কাৰণে আমি আলোচনা এই কথাটো আপোনালোকৰ চেনেল কেজি স্পষ্টকে জনাই দিছো মোদী ডাঙৰীয়াই যদি এই ওৱান পইণ্ট এজেণ্ডা সাহসে যদি আন্তৰিকতা আমাৰ লগত কথা পাতিব কথাটো কোনো ডাঙৰ নহয় ক্ৰাইম হ'ব নোৱাৰে এইটো গণতন্ত্ৰত কথাটো স্বাধীনতাৰ ওপৰত এটা সংঘাত হৈ আছে এটা এক পক্ষৰ স্বাধীনতা বিচাৰিছে কিয় পাবলগীয়া আলোচনা কিয় আহিব নাই গণতন্ত্ৰ এইটো তেখেতে যদি প্ৰকৃততে মোদী ডাঙৰীয়াই প্ৰকৃত গণতন্ত্ৰ ইষ্টাব্লিছ কৰিবলৈ বিচাৰিছে বা এইটো প্ৰৱৰ্তন আছে বুলি ক'বলৈ বিচাৰিছে তেতিয়াহ'লে এইটো প্ৰতিষ্ঠা কৰক ওৱান পইণ্ট এজেণ্ডা স্বাধীনতাৰ ওপৰত কথা হ'ব লাগে আমি ক'ব নাই যিটো য'ত নেকি আমাৰ উদ্দেশ্য সাধন হ'ব তাত আমি কিয় স্বাক্ষৰ নকৰিম য'ত নেকি তাত ইয়াত অৱশ্যে কৰিম আমি অৱশ্যে কৰিম আমাৰ লগতে হয়তো অকল এজন ওৱান মেন স্বাক্ষৰ নহ'ব হয়তো যিসকলে আমাৰ লক্ষ্য উদ্দেশ্যৰ লগত সম্পৃক্ত ৰাখি আলোচনালৈ যাবলৈ বিচাৰে সেইসকলকে আমি ৱেলকাম দিনা
Well, that was ULFA Independent Commander-in-Chief and top leader Paresh Barua for the first time also speaking with a lot more clarity than in the past, where he said that, there can be discussions on the core issue and why not. He is even talking about signing. What lies in between is a different issue, but he also talks about signing an accord with the government of India, provided, of course, they talk on the core issue of sovereignty. Well, the government duly took into account Paresh Barua's comments during the interview, as is clear from his statement, from this particular statement of Assam Finance Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma. This was, of course, after Paresh Barua's interview. Let's listen in.
আমি এটা ইতিবাচক মন ললে আলোচনাৰ পথত আগবাঢ়ি যাব পাৰিম পৰেশ বৰুৱাদেৱৰ বা তেখেতৰ ডাঙৰীয়াৰ বক্তব্য যোৱাকালি আমি সকলোৱে শুনিছে কেন্দ্ৰীয় চৰকাৰে শুনিছে ৰাজ্য চৰকাৰে শুনিছে সংবাদ মাধ্যমত সেই বক্তব্যৰ মই প্ৰতিক্ৰিয়া প্ৰকাশ কৰিব খোজা নাই কিন্তু আমি সেই বক্তব্য কগনাইজেন্স লৈছো কথাখিনি আমি শুনিছো বক্তব্যত ডেফিনেটলি ইতিবাচক ইংগিত এটা আছে পজিটিভিটি আছে আৰু মই ভাবো যে ভাৰত চৰকাৰেও একেই পজিটিভিটি আৰু ইতিবাচক দৃষ্টিভংগী গ্ৰহণ কৰিব 7 তাৰিখে প্ৰধানমন্ত্ৰী মোদী ডাঙৰীয়া যেতিয়া কোকৰাঝাৰলৈ আহিব যদি অহাটো সম্পূৰ্ণ হয় সেই দিনাখন প্ৰধানমন্ত্ৰী আৰু গৃহমন্ত্ৰী ডাঙৰীয়াৰ লগত মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰী আৰু মই এই বিষয়টো আলোচনা কৰিম আৰু তাৰ পিছত ইয়াক এটা ইতিবাচক বাতাবৰণৰ মাজেৰে আগুৱাই লৈ যোৱাৰ বাবে আমি চেষ্টা কৰিম
Okay, now things are definitely moving and shaking at least, but several questions arise. Now, will Paresh Barua or the ULFA Independent really come for peace talks? Will the ULFA Independent leadership prefer to wait and watch how the peace process with the pro-talk ULFA faction unfolds? Will it be simplistic to assume that Paresh Barua will agree to enter negotiation process just because the government has reached a deal with all the NDFB factions? What options does Paresh Barua have other than carrying out with a hit-and-run bush war? Will things depend on the counter-insurgency level of the Myanmar government? So these are issues. To discuss these and more, I am joined by ULFA General Secretary Anup Chetia, a long-time associate of Paresh Barua and currently engaged in talks with the government of India. Also with me is former ULFA publicity chief Sunil Nath, now a writer and commentator. Former Assam Special DGP Pallab Bhattacharya is also with me. I am joined as well by Guwahati University Professor Dr. Kiranjan Datta, political analyst Swapnanil Barua, and senior journalist and commentator Susanto Talukdar. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. First, let me begin with you, Mr. Anup Setia. A very simple question, Mr. Anup Setia. Does the ULFA wants the ULFA Independent to come and join the peace negotiations? That means you are already negotiating with the government of India. Talks are at an advanced stage. My question is simple. Do you want ULFA Independent to come and join the peace negotiations? Mr. Anup Setia.
Yes, you see, all the Boru groups, they came to the negotiation and they signed the agreement and they make a permanent peace in the BTC area. Therefore, we would also like to request to the ULFA Independent to come forward to take part in the negotiation process and he can join with us, they can join with us to take part in the sign the agreement. We always welcome them.
Okay. Now, Mr. Anup Chetia, let's have everybody on the screen. Mr. Anup Chetia, for the sake of clarity, do you want ULFA Independent to join the ongoing peace talks, or do you want ULFA Independent to talk on its own separately?
But one thing is that they have demanded that the discussion will be held only in one agenda, that the sovereignty of Assam. But that depends upon the government of India. But we are discussing under the Constitution of India that is the quite different things. But that's depend upon the Alpha independent leader, Mr. Paresh Barua, what type of discussion he wants. If he is agreed to discuss under the Indian Constitution, which is going on with us, then we are also most welcome him. He can participate with us. Or if he determined to take part only in the sovereignty of Assam, then that will be different matter. I think that will depend to the government of India.
Okay. Let me begin. Let me also get the opening remarks of all my other panelists. Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee, you are yourself an interlocutor with several other militant groups. My question is, as an observer, what do you think Mr. Himanta Biswa Sharma making a formal appeal? Within hours, ULFA leader Paresh Barua making giving an interview to a #1 channel in the state. Then again, you find Himanta Biswa Sharma commenting, saying that we are ready to discuss with the Prime Minister as soon as he comes on the 7th of February. So things are definitely moving and shaking. Can we say that there is a lot of positivity in the developments in the last 48 hours?
Yes, this is very true, because for the last several years I have been hearing government offering, requesting Alpha to come to the negotiation table, but there was no such clear indication on earlier occasions. And even though Paresh Barua has told that sovereignty should be the main agenda, I personally feel that we should start the negotiation to begin with, and gradually we can surmount the various barriers which will come up during the course of discussion. And the present level of discussion with the present Protoc Alpha group has already advanced to a considerable stage, and at this point I personally feel that it will be good for Assam as well as for Alpha also to come to the negotiation table.
All right, before I come to the studio panelist, Dr. Akhil Ranjan Datta, a veteran Assam police officer who is very experienced, Pallab Bhattacharjee said that even if the ULFA is demanding core issue of sovereignty, discussions must begin. And he said a very important thing: all the difficulties, all the obstacles we can surmount as we proceed in the negotiations. What is your opening remarks, Dr. Akhil Ranjan Datta?
We have to, analyze what Paresh Barua said. Paresh Barua said two things very categorically. One is that their core demand has to be in the negotiation table, that is sovereignty. But along with that, he said, because India is a democratic country, what is wrong in discussing any issue being raised by any organization? The indication is that discussing sovereignty doesn't necessarily mean granting sovereignty. He was emphasizing on democracy. In a democracy, you can discuss one, two, or whatever kind of issues. I think this is a very, very positive thing, and government should take it very positively, very sincerely.
Now, I'll come back to you, Mr. Sunil Nath. At one stage, you had also negotiated. You had also, decided to come and join the mainstream. Several of your colleagues joined at that time. Later on, another batch of ULFA under the leadership of Anup Chetia and Aravind Rajkhwa are already negotiating peace. Now we are talking whether or not ULFA independent should come or whether they will come. Now the question is, what kind of an impact? We now had a Bodo Accord where all the four militant groups, NDFB, have joined the mainstream. They have laid down arms. They have signed an accord. Now, there is no other militant group left in a vast area of Assam, that is the Bodo heartland. Now, does that kind of a thing impact on the other leading insurgent group, that is the ULFA independent? Do you think that will have an impact? And do you think Paresh Barua is making any different statement this time? Is it positive, much more positive than before?
The first answer would be that yes, it does make a huge impact, because NDAP was a very cognizable force. So that NDAP has come abroad into peace talks and have settled down. So that automatically will create a psychological pressure and peer pressure amongst the other insurgent groups. So it does have an impact. Second question was regarding?
Yeah, that was my first question. The second question, do you think Paresh Barua has made any new statement this time for the first time? Do you see any change the way he spoke?
That is where, unfortunately, I cannot be that optimistic, because it seems Paresh Barua has actually stuck to his original position and he has been steadfast in it. So what Paresh Barua has said, he had earlier also said, and he has said nothing new in his interview. Only thing is that it is up to the Government of India now to decide, because yes, I absolutely agree with my co-panelists and all of you that yes, there should be no condition about the talks. Even if sovereignty is to be discussed, what's the harm in it? We are a mature democracy, most populous democracy in the world. We can afford to discuss anything. No harm done.
No harm. No harm in discussing anything, including the issue of sovereignty. That's what Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee has also said, and ULFA is demanding. Now, Mr. Swapnil Bora, how would you like to begin? Actually, you have heard everyone, the government leaders as well as Paresh Barua. What should be the road ahead now? How do you look at it?
I think the ice has been broken, and both the things have warring sides have extended their hands at least, if not the full arms. So it's up to the people, both the parties concerned, to really take it a bit, stretch out the hand a bit, and warm their way into the hearts so that they come into the negotiating table and discuss all the issues that are related. But at the same time, I think there is a public aspect to it also, because if you have seen in the Boro Accord that they have taken the civil society into backroom consultations, as it appears to me. So while the ULFA pro talks or even ULFA independent, while talking, I think there's a certain amount of discussion with the people concerned of the state, because after all, their whole agitation is for the state. It is not for themselves or for their rehabilitation package. So that aspect also has to be taken into account.
Susanta Talagda, how do you view it?
I think I see a positivity in the entire development, both from the Assam government side and also from the statement. Although Paresh Barua is still sticking to his point on the issue of sovereignty. But then when the Government of India is holding talks with the NSC and IM, when it hasn't given up its demand for sovereignty, so there is no harm in talking sovereignty on the negotiation table. So I think there are indications that once this is accepted, then he is ready to come. And then we need it badly. Assam needs peace badly.
Absolutely. I think Paresh Barua might argue, when he said that Government of India should discuss the issue of sovereignty, Paresh Barua might argue that when the NSC and IM came for negotiations, they did not give up their demand for a sovereign Naga nation. They did not give their demand when they entered into talks. That demand may have been diluted, that demand may have petered down, that demand may have, undergone tremendous transformations over the years as that spoke to the Government of India. But when they began in 1997, I think they had not given up their demand. So this might be one of the arguments of Paresh Barua. Now, Mr. Anup Chetia, the question is, I am asking you before we go deep into the discussions, are you ready to send a formal invitation, or are you ready to make a formal appeal to your erstwhile leader, that is the ULFA independent leader, Mr. Paresh Barua, to come and join the peace negotiations? Are you likely to send a formal appeal, or are you ready to do so? Anup Chetia.
Always we appeal to him to come forward to take part in the negotiation process. Always we appeal to him. But he is determined that his demand, yesterday also he disclosed that he is only determined in to discuss with the Government of India regarding the sovereignty of Assam. But that's depend to the Government of India, what decision the Government of India take regarding the sovereignty discussion with ULFA independent.
Right. Now, you see, another thing, I was asking this question to, Mr. Sunil Nath, whether the NDFB Accord will put Paresh Barua under any kind of pressure. Now, Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee, there was this United National Liberation Front of Western Southeast Asia, which was an umbrella group of several northeastern militants operating from Myanmar. Now the question is, after the four factions, after the NDFB has completely, come out, joined the peace process, the, UNLF leader has been released from jail. I don't know what impact it is going to have on the UNLF itself, and ULFA already engaged in advanced negotiations. Do you think all these things will also weigh heavily on Paresh Barua and determine a decision that he might ultimately take in the coming days? Pallab Bhattacharjee.
Yes, I personally feel like that, because for sustaining a militant, rebellion, actually you need the help of a foreign country for shelter at least. And now they are not having, ULFA is not having that, because there is a lot of pressure from Myanmar's government also. And secondly, all from the umbrella organization, some of these organizations have come out, and that is why it has become weakened actually. So these are new factors which may also weigh in his mind to come to the negotiation table. That is one point. And secondly, I personally feel that instead of resorting to armed violence, which we have found has failed, at least in the case of Northeast. If you see the case of NSC and IM, who came with the idea of a sovereign Nagaland, subsequently they have scuttled down to certain positions. So under these circumstances, and because of the progress of the world as such actually during this period, economic progress and other things, I personally feel that all these factors might have weighed in his mind for coming to the negotiation.
Right. Now Dr. Akhil Ranjan Datta, if we talk about the pull factors, you are observing the situation in Assam unfolding in the last couple of years. First, it was the ULFA, Aravind Rajkhwa, later Anup Chetia came and joined the peace process. DHD Accord was signed, and now the entire NDFB Accord was signed. Earlier, the BLT Accord was signed in 2003. All these developments, and now we are asking this question, whether time has come for ULFA Independent to also come and join peace process so that there is permanent peace in Assam. Now, do you think the pull factors for Mr. Paresh Barua are strong enough for him to agree to the Assam government's or Government of India's invitation?
When we talk about the processes that we have witnessed in a couple of years, we have to keep in mind certain very significant and relevant dimensions. I'm particularly referring to the peace process with the Bodus now. If you look at the Bodu situation, the civil society is playing a very vital role, as Swapnanil Barua has pointed out. If you look at the negotiation there or the signing of the accord, it is not only the NDFB, even APSU has signed the agreement. APSU has signed the accord. This is very, very interesting. Now, as far as ULFA is concerned, therefore, if you want to bring Paresh Barua into the negotiation table, the civil society has to play a very, very important role. When I say civil society, I am also referring to that government has to take into confidence the erstwhile PCG, People's Consultative Group, as well as Sonnmilito Nagorik Oviborton, being led by Dr. Hiren Gohai, All Assam Students Union, Ahom Sahitya Sabha, and so on and so forth. So, Bodu situation cannot, in today's context, be equated with ULFA's situation. So if Paresh Barua has to be persuaded by not only by the government but also by the civil society forces.
That's a
so
very,
it has become our responsibility.
Absolutely.
It is my responsibility.
Your
responsibility.
Hold your thoughts.
Civil society outfits responsibility to play a very, very active role.
One point I feel is now that the biggest supporter of all the insurgency movements was China. And China had tried to gain an access 20 years ago. They had no access to these countries in and around China, Southeast Asian countries. But now they have been able to penetrate into each, and they are in very bonhomie terms with every government in...
So what are you trying to say?
So what I am trying to say is that because the biggest supporter of insurgency in the entire Southeast Asian countries is losing their biggest supporter, so I feel that this is one pull factor which will bring all the insurgent groups throughout the Southeast Asian countries to the negotiating table with their governments.
Okay. Now, Sunil Nath, I want to go back to what Dr. Akhilanjan Datta has said. Now the NDFB accord you have observed, it is not just the 4 factions of the NDFB that signed the accord. It is not apart from that, apart from the All Bodo Students Union, there was the civil society, conglomeration of civil society group. Now the point is, in the case of ULFA, Pro-Talk, they are also negotiating on its own, and if Paresh Barua has to come and join the peace process, do you think, apart from the government sending an appeal or an invitation, do you think the civil society also needs to, try to convince him to come and join the peace process and perhaps play a role? Do you think civil society has a role?
The civil society definitely has a role, and more so because Paresh Barua himself, in his interview, has more than once,
needs to be involved, leading citizens.
Yes, more than once he has said, and he has stressed on it, that the talk should be led by those people on behalf of them.
Exactly.
On behalf of
delegation.
So he has put the onus on the civil society. Now the civil society has to come up and shoulder the responsibility of putting the views of Alpha independence across to the government of India in a fair and proper manner.
Now, Susanta Talukdar, civil society. You see, civil society, let us face it, the civil society in Assam is very disjointed.
Yes.
Akhilanjan Datta, I'd like to seek your comments, Sapnal Barua as well, and Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee as well. My personal feeling is that the civil society in Assam today is disjointed.
Right.
Now, first of all, can there be a credible and unified civil society voice in the first place to come and take this initiative forward? Susanta, what do you think?
I think, I mean...
First of all, do you agree that civil society is disjointed?
Yes, that I agree. But then we have to also read the minds of the people, that the overall, the mood of the people in the entire state is for peace.
Right.
And then people want the Paresh Barua to come and join the peace process. So it shouldn't be a problem in having a credible civil society formation. Professor Datta has named a few, and there can be more civil society groups and organizations to lend support. And I also agree with Mr. Nath that the civil society has to raise the voice in a way that the government of India is also finally is convinced that at least we should begin the negotiation process.
Yeah. Okay. Swapnil Barua, how do you look at it? Civil society, do they have a role cut out, or they will complicate the matters further?
No, I don't think. See, the whole thing is that, as I said before, that the insurgent groups are not fighting for themselves. They are fighting for the state or the people of the state. So if if the people of the state don't know what they are fighting for, it's going to be a very difficult situation.
Now, in the NDFB case, Swapnil Barua, NDFB case, the civil society groups are signatories to the accord.
Because there were similar demands.
Signatories to the accord. But in the case of Assam, a lot of the civil society groups have the demands may be on track with the, but they're totally different kind of demands. Language, culture, different kinds of demands.
I think the essential demand is that the Assamese community, if the ULFA is representing, whether be it the Pro-Talk faction or the independent one, at least they must place before the people that, look, we are fighting for you in these X, Y, Z issues. Now, what is happening is that the Pro-Talk faction is talking with the government of India, and I presume that they are placing certain interests of the people of Assam before the government to agree to.
Akhil, you wanted to say something? You were trying to say something, Akhilanjan Datta.
Yeah. And I do agree that the civil society is very, very fragmented in Assam or the greater Assamese society compared to the Bodos. But as far as the ULFA's issues are concerned, there is a consensus. The consensus is that the demands being raised by ULFA are very, very genuine. It's not necessarily sovereignty, but it has been talking about the rights of the commons, rights over the ownership over common resources and so on and so forth. Despite having lot of differences on many, many other issues, there are possibilities of having commonalities as far as bringing Alpha or bringing Alpha independent to the negotiation table.
Very true. I will go for a break, but very quickly, Pallab Bhattacharjee, what are your thoughts at this point? Pallab Bhattacharjee.
Now, my thought on this point is that Assam is a bouquet of flowers, you can say. So many communities are there. So far as Boru society is concerned, they have all come together, and that is a very good thing for them, actually, that is there. But in case of Assam, so many communities are there, so we will have to take all these communities on board while discussions are being made. Actually, this is a very important point, because in this situation with so many communities residing in Assam, if we think only of the majority community or something like that, that will repeat the historical mistakes which we had made on earlier occasions. Right?
Okay.
From the
all right. I'll have to go for a very quick break, but
that we should take all the communities together when we put forward these demands.
Okay, we'll have to go for a very short break, but viewers, don't go away. I'll be right back after this very short break. Welcome back. Mr. Anup Chetia, honestly, Mr. Anup Chetia, do you think there can be lasting or complete peace in Assam without the ULFA independent? Because I'm asking you this question because you are perhaps, you are almost ready to sign on the dotted lines. That's why I'm asking you this question.
Definitely, if Government of India sign agreement with ULFA, with us, definitely some peace will be there. But another one thing is, still if there is one arms group is there, definitely some incidents, some armed incidents will be happen in near future. That will not bring permanent peace, because though they are not so powerful all over the Assam, especially there are some bases in Upper Assam, but though for the greater interest of the for the people of Assam and for the permanent peace, if he came, that means ULFA independent came to the negotiation table, then it will be permanent peace will come to Assam.
Okay, now you see, Mr. Anup Chetia, you had been a close associate of Mr. Paresh Barua. Do you think other forces can influence his decision or the decision of the ULFA independent? What do you think? My question is, from your experience, you have worked with him closely, you have seen him, you know how he operates, how he thinks. Can he take, today, is he in a position to take his own decision, or do you think there are other forces which might influence his decision? That's my question.
My personal view is that he can take decision. Nobody can influence to him, because some groups, they are thinking that anticipation that some other party, third party are influencing him. But I think from my past past experience, that such type of groups cannot interfere or cannot influence him to come out for the negotiation.
Now you see, Mr. Sunila, it's a very interesting situation. See, the government has been discussing with ULFA, Aurobindo Rajkar and Mr. Anup Chetia for a couple of years now. Now we are being told that discussions, the talks are at an advanced stage and the accord may be signed. Now that means the government of India is willing to sign an accord with the ULFA, knowing very well that without the ULFA independent, there will be no lasting peace in the state. This development has taken place only now, perhaps also because of a realization that, like the NDAB, if there is no comprehensive ULFA agreement, it will be a, just a piecemeal solution. Do you think the government, should have activated this process of trying to, convince Mr. Paresh Barua to come and join the peace process much earlier? Don't you agree?
I definitely agree here, and yes, we have been saying this from the earlier times that if some factions are left behind, then no comprehensive and permanent peace can come. The thing is that what I am afraid is that this should not be another red herring to bypass the present chaotic affairs since the new proposed citizenship regime and so on. I hope that this is a genuine desire and genuine trust towards peace, where all the factions are taken together and a comprehensive peace like that of the Boros takes place.
Pallabhacharji.
I think the audio is not going to.
All right. Pallabhacharji, the question goes to you. You see, now the Government of India was taking the talks with the Anup Chetia, Aurobindo Rajkhua group to a much advanced level. That means they were almost ready to sign the deal. Of course, now good sense have prevailed and government is talking, government has sent out an appeal to the ULFA independent leader. Do you think these initiatives should have begun in right earnest and seriously much earlier? Don't you think so? Okay, I think there is a disconnect with Pallabhacharji. Sushanta Talgra, how do you look at this? Same question. Yeah.
I think it's better late than never. No, that principle should be applied. I mean, there is no point looking back in the past. I mean, since something has come out positively, so the ball is now in the court of the Government of India. The Government of India should seize this opportunity, and because they have applied this principle in Nagaland, they have brought in all the Naga factions to the negotiation table. So it's a realization on the part of the government that unless all the factions are
let me take this question.
Board.
Absolutely. Let me take to Dr. Akhil Ranjan Datta. Same question which I had asked Pallabhacharji and Sushanta Talukdar. Akhil Ranjan Datta, do you think the government should have seriously begun this initiative with the ULFA independent, earlier? Of course, we have to also acknowledge the fact that, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, the Art of Living movement leader, spiritual guru, he had also tried talking to Mr. Paresh Barua.
Is the question for me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't hear your question properly because there was a disconnection.
No,
can you repeat the question?
Question is, do you think the Government of India should have discussed or taken this initiative with the ULFA independent much earlier?
Yeah, I think the government should have taken it. No, I'm not saying earlier. Government should have consistently pursued the negotiation process. We know that it started, long back with PCG, People's Consultative Group, and there was a gap in between. Then Sonnmilito Jatiyo Abhibarton, so on and so forth. Now, my understanding is that unless and until the civil society is taken into confidence both by the Government of India and also by ULFA independent, the process will not move.
Okay.
And therefore, this is very, very important, and the government should create a conducive environment. And it is the ardent responsibility on the part of the government. The government is responsible for bringing peace. The insurgent organizations are not responsible for bringing peace.
Pallabhacharji. Okay, we have a terrible problem with Pallabhacharji. We are not getting Swapnil Barua. Can you pitch in?
I have a slightly different point of view here. Is that, the ideologues in the insurgent groups must also seize the opportunity of when to really reach out for negotiations, because every government that they are fighting against will be looking for a solution. Now, if the ideologues of that particular organization does not know when to really begin backroom parleys, it may be such that they might lose relevance later on. It has happened to insurgent groups in the Northeast itself now.
True, but I have another question for you. In the meantime, let me also make an appeal. My appeal to my producers is to fix the line with Pallab Bhattacharjee, who is very important in this discussion. Now, Swapnil Barua, civil society. You see the case. Take the case of the church. They have been consistently, engaged in discussions, trying to bring the peace process on track. So many times there was, the Naga peace process was almost about to be derailed.
Yes.
The church, the Naga Mothers Association, who has told them? Nobody has told them to do so.
Yes.
They were doing on their own. Here we are saying that, civil society should be asked by the government of India. Civil society should be asked by the rebel leaders. So why can't the civil society on their own? Akhil Ranjan Datta, this question is for you as well. Swapnil Barua first and Sunil Nath.
I think that is where we have failed, in the sense that we have only talked about peace. We have not thought about peace beyond. We have not created the conducive atmosphere, or really...
Because we all know that there is need for peace.
Because what I am saying is that beyond peace, what will be the temptation of these groups, or what the public expects from the insurgent groups, has somehow not been brought into the public domain. And I think there it has been a failure on the part of our society, that they have been negotiating with the government, they have been negotiating with the insurgent leaders, but no one really has reached out to the people to say that, look, what do you expect of these insurgent groups?
Exactly. Let me bring in Sunil Nath at this point. Civil society, can't the civil society on their own consistently keep up with this drive, push? That push. Why should the civil society be told by the rebel, oh, you start work now, it has been a long gap? Why should the government tell them? Why can't they do things on their own for the greater interest of Assam?
I absolutely agree with you that the civil society should take its own initiative.
Keep on taking it.
But
continue with it.
The point is that, like you earlier pointed out, the civil society itself is not united, it's disjointed. Unlike the Naga civil society, ours is not strong in that sense of unity. We have powerful voices, but divergent voices. So, we all have to wish that our civil society comes together, keeps their petty differences away, and speaks in a single voice to the insurgents as well as the government.
Right. Now, Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee, in Nagaland, we are talking about the role of the civil society. In Nagaland, the Chars, the Naga Mothers Association, and others, whether it is Naga Tribes Council, Naga Hoho, all these organizations were consistently working for peace in Nagaland. So many times the Naga ceasefire was about to be derailed. They were brought on track by all these organizations. But in Assam, they work for a few months, they get disbanded, nothing happens. Civil society is not continuously working to bring the ULFA independent and others for negotiations. It succeeded in Bodo areas because the APSU and others consistently worked on it. Pallab Bhattacharjee. I am coming to you, Akhil.
Yes, I also think like that. Actually, our civil society has failed. Our civil society has failed us in this respect. But I personally feel that now Assam Sahitya Sabha and even ASU also can take some proactive parts in this regard, so that the civil society is gradually it is sensitized, and then they come up with some advice actually in this regard. This is the high time. Particularly, I will put the onus on Assam Sahitya Sabha in this regard.
Akhil, yes, you were trying to say something, Akhil Ranjan Datta.
Yeah. I pointed out that we have to understand the differences, fundamental differences of the civil society in Nagaland and Bodoland, Bodos and that of the greater Assamese society. Bodos have the advantage of that Article 371A, they have constitutional protection. Now for the Bodos also, they have the 6th civil status that has given some advantages as far as negotiating with the government is concerned. Now, in Assam, you find a confrontation between government of India and that of the civil society. Therefore, I was telling that government has a responsibility to bring the civil society into confidence. And to start with this, I think the issue of Citizenship Amendment Act and people's discontent have to be taken seriously.
Okay.
And if that is being taken seriously, there are possibilities of moving ahead with the civil society
Now let me go to Anup Chetia. Anup Chetia, do you think the ULFA Independent is closely monitoring your talks? Do you think that will ultimately have an impact? And therefore it is important for the Government of India and you to sign the deal? Or unless you decide to wait, unless the government decides to wait indefinitely for Paresh Barua to come, do you think Paresh Barua will be monitoring your negotiations very closely and wait for its outcome?
But one thing is that if Paresh Barua came to the negotiation table, then it will be possible as like the Boru Accord, then we can sign together. But that's depend upon the Government of India, because Paresh Barua, his willingness to discuss only in one agenda, that means sovereignty. But Government of India, I don't think that the Government of India will agree in this regard. Therefore, if Paresh Barua is determined in his main agenda, then it will not affect to our negotiation process.
Now, Mr. Anup Chetia, do you think Paresh Barua will be pragmatic enough this time to accept the government's offer? Because a lot of things on the ground have changed. Myanmar is also putting pressure. Conglomeration has also, a lot of units have gone out of the United National Liberation Front of so-called Western Southeast Asia and so on. What do you think? Do you think you'll be pragmatic enough to accept the offer this time?
Definitely, because he's interested to come out for negotiation. This is one of the plus point. And another one is this present situation. That means in all of our world or all over in Assam or India is different. Because when we started this struggle, this armed struggle, at that time the situation was quite positive and quite different. Right now, this situation is quite changed. Therefore, it is we can survive here. That way, armed revolution can survive here. But to reach in the success, it will be very tough job.
Right.
Therefore,
now I'd like to ask my last question to you, Mr. Anup Chetia. My last question to you before I end this debate: will you be ready to mediate? A lot of people would want to know whether will you be willing to mediate now?
If Government of India agree my proposal, definitely for the greater interest of the people of Assam, for the greater interest of the nation, I am ready to do like that.
So, Sunil Nath, Anup Chetia is ready to mediate. Do you think that is an option which the government should consider?
Yes.
A senior Alpha leader who worked closely. What do you think? I'm running short of time. Very quickly.
He is the best bet. He is the best bet because all sides accept him and all sides accept him as their leader. So there might be differences of opinion, but he is acceptable and is respected by all, including Paresh Barua.
So that is the breaking story, viewers. That is the breaking story at this point. As we are discussing the possibility of the ULFA Independent, or Alpha leader who is currently engaged in talks with the Government of India, close associate of Paresh Barua, willing to mediate. Pallab Bhattacharjee, how do you take this statement? 10 seconds to you, 10 to 15 seconds. Last comments. Anup Chetia ready to mediate.
That is a very positive development. That is a very positive development, and I welcome Anup Chetia. He should be now used by Government of India for negotiation with Paresh Barua, so that he can be brought to the negotiation table. This will be a very positive development for Assam.
Akhil Ranjan Datta, is it workable? Is it doable? Anup Chetia, actually given the responsibility to try and mediate? Akhil Ranjan Datta, Swapnil Barua, same question.
I think the offer has been made and it is up to the government to really pick it up because this is the most opportune moment for peace and we must give peace a chance and and these moments don't come and I think I can only feel like Shakespeare, quoting Shakespeare, that there comes a tide in the affairs of man which if taken on a leap leads to fame and fortune or otherwise it sinks. This is the moment we should all take the chance.
Seize the moment. Susanta Talukdar.
I also agree. The government of India should seize the moment, and then apart from making Anup Setia the mediator, government should also send out a one-line message that it is ready to talk and discuss any subject on the negotiation table.
Absolutely. On that positive note, Dr. Akhil Ranjan Datta, if you are there. Okay, Akhil Ranjan Datta, we have lost the line unfortunately with Akhil Ranjan Datta. Viewers, I think the time has come, as most of our panelists have said, the opportunity has come and this is the time to seize the moment. The government seems to be serious. The government of Assam, the top leaders saying that they are willing to discuss with none other than the Prime Minister and Paresh Barua also showing signs of little mellowing down, of course sticking to his core demand of sovereignty, but as veteran police officer Palla Bhattacharjee says there is no harm. Sunil Nath has also said we are a mature democracy. No harm in even discussing sovereignty. Of course, discussing sovereignty does not mean that you will be granted sovereignty. Of course, India is a huge nation and of course, India is mature enough to discuss. Let's see how the government of India responds. The government of India has shown radical departures from the past and we hope they will come up with some modalities to achieve a breakthrough in bringing Paresh Barua to peace talks. On that note, I end this edition of Notice Tonight. Thank my panelists for engaging in these discussions and the viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye.
Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.